This one truly was a cringe fest. Everything about this book is complete perfection. If you do not agree, you can argue with the wall. I don't care. Hello everybody, it's Sarah. Welcome or welcome back. Today I'm coming at you with a video that might make some people pretty angry at me, but it's fine. And basically today I am going to be tier ranking every single classic that I read in 2020. So if you're not new to my channel, you know that I have a very weird love-hate relationship with classics. I am not the biggest fan of classics in general, and so last year in 2020 I actually challenged myself to try and read at least one classic a month. So you know, obviously, because I don't really love to read books that I'm going to absolutely hate, I tried to read the classics that I actually wanted to read just to see if I could like change my relationship with the genre. I don't really think it's a genre, but whatever, we're gonna go with that word. And I succeeded in reading at least one classic a month. I actually read a little bit more than that. I think I have like 18 books to rank with all of you today. So yeah, let's see how my classic experiment went. I think that for the most part it went okay, but I also have a couple of like unpopular opinions to share today. So without any further ado, let's get into the ranking. So as you can see, I have this little ranking thing that everybody's using on BookTube, and I have like 5 tier categories, whatever you want to call them. So the first one up top here is God tier. So those are obviously like the classics that I really loved and that I really enjoyed and that I think you should read as well, that I think I will probably reread one day, like just the ones that were amazing, that I really loved. Then we have good, which is pretty self-explanatory, like this book was good, I might reread it one day, especially if it's a part of a series, and I think that it's worth your time. And then we have okay, which is the middle of the road category, just like that this book was fine. Do I understand why everybody thinks that it's like groundbreaking? Not necessarily. Would I reread it? Not necessarily, but like it was okay. I enjoyed it. Okay. Then we have the meh category, which is just like this book was just meh. Like it was boring or not really interesting, or just, you know, I didn't really connect with it, whatever you want to call it. It was just not great. And then finally the last category is trash. So the trash category, I feel like the books that are going to go in there are really the books that I had some sort of problem with it. Like I found that, you know, they were frustrating, or they were just like, you know, bad, but like bad with a reason, not just like I didn't enjoy it, like I thought it was problematic or something. Alright, so we are starting kind of strong with Les Misérables, and I think I'm gonna put Les Misérables in I'm gonna put it in good. So the thing is I love Les Misérables. It is one of my favorite story like of all time. I think it's absolutely amazing. I hadn't read the book until 2020. I had, however, seen the musical and I have seen the movie countless times. I really love that story. I think it's wonderful, and I also enjoyed the book, but I have to say this book is so long. It's insane. And one of the main reasons why it's going into good is because Victor Hugo does this thing where he goes into those like crazy historical tangents that nobody really cares about because they don't relate to like any of the characters or the plot. They don't add anything to the story. He just really loved to just randomly explain this very obscure and random fact to you through his books. They were so boring in the middle of Les Misérables, because you would be into like one of those very interesting scene, or like, you know, those two characters were having a moment and Victor Hugo would just be like, let me tell you about the sewer system. It was just very annoying, and the book didn't need to be that long. So because of that, it goes into good. yes, I still think that the musical is better. Sue me. Next we have The Tempest by William Shakespeare. I read like 3 Shakespeare plays this year. I decided to read them in a month, and this one was complete trash. I really did not get the point of this entire freaking play from the beginning till the end. Also, can you explain something to me? Are Shakespeare comedies actually supposed to be funny or not? Because if they are, that wasn't funny. That was like one of the most boring things I've ever read, and I was not entertained. I really did not like it. I thought it was just, honestly, I don't even remember what happened. If I remember correctly, there are a lot of sexist themes in this one, and you all know how I feel about those. It's not a mystery. So yeah, just The Tempest really was not for me. Maybe there's like something hidden in there that I did not get. Maybe something completely went over my head. I don't know. If you are like someone who is obsessed with classics and who is very angry at me right now, please don't try to explain this to me in the comments. I don't really care. I'm just saying I did not enjoy this book. Then the next one that we have is Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, and this one goes into the good category. This is the first one of many Jane Austen. I read all of Jane Austen books in 2020, and she is my favorite classic author of all time. So be prepared for all of the Jane Austen gushing in this video. I love her to pieces. The reason why I put Sense and Sensibility in good instead of God tier is because it's not my favorite of hers. I didn't really agree with Miss Austen when it came to the ending of this story, because she made one of the characters end up with another character that I did not want her to end up with. So I was a little bit disappointed about that, but you know, it's fine. I hope she doesn't come back to haunt me because I said that. But yeah, Sense and Sensibility, it's good. I highly recommend it still. I think it was a wild ride and I enjoyed like every single second of it, even like the parts where I was frustrated because the characters were just not like collaborating with what I wanted them to do. It's fine. Then the next classic that we have is Much Ado About Nothing by William Shakespeare, and contrary to The Tempest, I actually really enjoyed this one and I'm going to put it in good. Much Ado About Nothing is like the first comedy that I read by William Shakespeare. No, that's not true. Actually, I had read A Midsummer Night's Dreams a couple of years ago and really enjoyed that one as well. But Much Ado About Nothing is the first Shakespeare play that I read in 2020, and it really set the bar high, and then all of the others just went like completely below that bar, like very, very deep below that bar. Much Ado About Nothing was exactly what I wanted. It was witty, it was funny, the characters were ridiculous, and they got into so many crazy shenanigans. Like, I loved that. I would go and watch a production of this play in like a heartbeat. I loved it so much. It was so much fun. It made me laugh like so much more than I anticipated I would, which was just a great surprise. So yeah, it was good. Then the next book that we have is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, and this one goes into God tier. I really love that Jane Austen book. I think it is so good. It's so funny. I think it's just ridiculous enough to make it like completely entertaining. The main character is just so funny. She is such a like gothic novel fangirl. It's the greatest time. I really enjoy my time reading this one. It's one of my favorite Jane Austen. I would definitely recommend it, especially if you're not familiar with Jane Austen and you want to, you know, try and read her books, because this one I think is definitely the most accessible, and it's tons of fun. Highly recommend this one. Definitely goes in God tier. Then we have The Lord of the Rings, and this is the second book, The Two Towers, and The Lord of the Rings was actually not a part of my classics challenge for 2020, but I decided to include it in there because it's a classic of the fantasy genre. I don't think that anyone can deny that, so I decided to put the 3 books in this tier ranking thing. So the second book, The Two Towers, is actually my least favorite out of the 3, and I know that like it's one book. Tolkien people, please don't scream at me. Please just, you know, let me live. I read them separately, so I do consider them to be 3 separate books. And so yeah, The Two Tower is my least favorite, but it still belongs into the good category because, oh my god, I really love The Lord of the Rings. And even if this one was like not the strongest in the 3 books or like the 3 parts, I still really enjoyed it because I completely fell in love with like the story and the characters. So it definitely belongs into the good category. Definitely, like, if you love classics and you still haven't read The Lord of the Rings, what are you doing? Then the next book that we have here is The Taming of the Shrew, and that one is going with the Tempest in the trash category because, oh my god, I don't think I've ever cringed that much while reading a book. Well, actually, I know I probably did at some point, but this one truly was a cringe fest. I had trouble finishing it, and like, Shakespeare plays are not that long, so it really gives you an idea. I really did not like this one. Once again, maybe something went completely over my head, or maybe, you know, people in the Shakespeare era, people who read when William Shakespeare was publishing his plays, found it funny to like completely destroy a woman's personality and try to make her fit to like a men's standard. Actually, they probably think that was funny. I didn't laugh even one time. I didn't even snort. I didn't even like chuckle or smile. I didn't do any of those things. So truly, once again, makes me wonder if like Shakespeare comedies are supposed to be funny. Because I didn't get the point of that one, clearly. Then the next book that we have here is The Return of the King, and this one goes into the god tier category. I don't know which one between The Fellowship of the Ring and The Return of the King is my favorite, but oh my god, this book played with my feelings like no other. And I loved it so much. It was definitely the perfect ending to that trilogy or that UJazz book, however you want to think about it. And I just, oh my god, it was so good, so well executed, just absolute perfection. So yeah, god tier all the way. And the next book that we have here also goes into the god tier because it is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. One of the best books ever written. I really loved Pride and Prejudice. I just love everything about this story, about the characters, just everything about this book is complete perfection. If you do not agree, you can argue with the wall. I don't care. Pride and Prejudice is one of those classics that make me understand why people think that classics are so iconic and why people put them on such high pedestals, because it truly deserves its spot on that pedestal because it's just so well done. It's witty, it's funny, it has a great plot, the characters are incredible, they grow so much throughout the entirety of that novel, and just everything about it is so great. Plus, it's actually entertaining and fun to read, and it will definitely make you feel things. So, you know, I'm just saying. Then the next book that we have is The Fellowship of the Ring, and like I already kind of mentioned, I also really love this one, so it goes into the god tier category as well. The Fellowship of the Ring is like where the adventure starts. It's just so beautiful. It has this very nostalgic, cozy feeling to it. I mean, the entire trilogy does, but especially The Fellowship of the Ring because it's like the beginning of the adventure and of the like magical journey you're going to embark upon, and it's just, it's so good. I really loved it, and I never anticipated loving it as much as I did, so that was also definitely a great surprise, and that's why I'm like so attached to it now, because I'm like, this was the real deal. Then next we have Mansfield Park by Jane Austen, which I'm also going to put into good. I know that Mansfield Park is like the Jane Austen that most people don't like as much, or just like the least. And I kind of understand why, because it's kind of long and the like main character she's not like as exciting as, let's say, Elizabeth or Emma, so I understand why some people really don't like this one as much. I personally really loved it because I love to see how Fanny Price changed throughout the novel, and how she got so much more confident and so much more sure of herself, and I just loved her story, and like all of the themes that Jane Austen explored in this one in particularly are super interesting and important. I mean, it's Jane Austen, so obviously I love it. I'm a little biased and I don't care. Then the next one is Persuasion, and this one I'm going to put into the God tier as well. Persuasion was just so sweet. It was just so good. I really enjoyed that one as well. I thought it was super well executed. The angst was there, the will they won't they attitude was there. It was just so good. So I definitely really love that one. I will definitely reread it one day, and I would also definitely recommend it. I just realized that I don't have anything in the okay category nor in the meh category, but I think that's about to change because the next book is The Picture of Dorian Gray, and this one I'm going to put in the meh category, which is, I think, kind of an unpopular opinion. I know that a lot of people really love The Picture of Dorian Gray. I know that it's like a lot of people's favorite classic. I personally thought that it was just like fine, a little bit boring, a little bit too long. I definitely feel like this book didn't need to be that long, and it's not even that long, so I think that kind of sums up my feelings. But yeah, I was just waiting for something to happen to that dang painting, and it took so long, and I don't understand why. I know that a lot of people rave about this book because of the beautiful writing, and I agree that the writing is very beautiful, but in my opinion, beautiful writing cannot carry a story as well as good and well executed storytelling. So, you know, that's my tea on Dorian Gray. I just thought that it was kind of fine, kind of boring, and you know, I found that it was mainly about those men doing stupid, terrible shit and basically getting away with it, which happens a lot in classics, and that's just not something that I enjoy reading about. Then, speaking of men doing stupid things, we have Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and this one I think I'm gonna put in okay, because it wasn't as boring as The Picture of Dorian Gray, but it is definitely not Jane Austen, you know? So it's like, it's okay. It was fine. The main reason why I decided to give this one a try, because I'm not really like that interested in the story in and of itself, except for the fact that I think that Mary Shelley is amazing. Like, as a person, I love her so much. I think she's so iconic. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to read Frankenstein. Maybe it will surprise me. And it kind of did a little bit. I thought that Mary Shelley's writing was very beautiful. It kept me engaged throughout the entire story, and also I kind of related to the characters a little bit, which was, you know, kind of surprising. I was not expecting that I, a 24-year-old woman, would relate to like this weird like monster and this kind of like stupid crazy guy who just decided to like stitch him together, but apparently I did, because Mary Shelley found a way to make me relate to them. Then the next book that we have is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, and this one I'm going to put in okay. And I am definitely not the kind of person who is interested in Charles Dickens whatsoever. I have mentioned it a couple of times on this channel. I do not intend to read any of his books because they just do not appeal to me, like, at all. But this one I decided to read because it was like Christmas time, and I was just like, you know what, let's just read a Christmas classic for the month of December, why not? And it was enjoyable. I was pleasantly surprised by the fun, spooky vibes of the story, as well as some of Charles Dickens' sense of humor, because to be honest with all of you, I didn't think that this man had any sense of humor, but apparently he does. So, you know, that's a nice surprise, I guess. Then the next book that we have is We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, and this one was, I think it was meh. Honestly, this book didn't like blow me away. I found that it was just a little bit boring, and it's more of a character study rather than like a spooky tale, and I feel like I was more expecting like the spooky tale rather than the character study, so maybe that's my fault. But yeah, I was just a little bit disappointed with this book. I enjoyed reading about the different themes that it explored. I thought that this part of the story was great, but I was really expecting something, you know, like a little bit more witchy, a little bit more spooky, and I did not get that. So yeah, I was a little bit sad about it. Then the next one that we have is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I was not expecting to really love this one or enjoy it that much, but it actually belongs into the good category. I was a little bit intimidated by Jane Eyre because of its size, and also because I really wasn't sure that I was going to enjoy it that much, because I had read Wuthering Heights a couple of years ago and absolutely hated it. I know that they're not by the same author, but you know, they're sisters and they're kind of writing similar things. So I was really scared that I wasn't going to enjoy Jane Eyre, but I actually did. And the main reason why is because I really loved Jane as a character. I thought that she was so interesting. I thought that Charlotte Bronte like created her so well. She was just so well fleshed out, and I really loved to see her grow throughout the entire novel. I thought it was fascinating, and just, you know, the way that she talked about being a woman in that period in time was absolutely amazing. I really loved to read about that, and I even kind of enjoyed the romance, not really for Mr. Rochester, because I think he's like a terrible human being. He's kind of trash, but you know, I love the angst. Let's just put it that way. And then finally, the last book on this list, and this is very funny because we actually kept the best one for the end, and it is Emma by Jane Austen, which is officially my favorite classic of all time. I loved Emma with like every fiber of my being. I love Emma as a main character. I think she's so interesting. She is so full of herself, but also super vulnerable, and I love that about her so much. I think she is funny and witty and smart, and she knows what she wants, and just everything about this story is absolutely amazing. The side characters are ridiculous. The romance is outstanding. Mr. Knightley is like one of the best love interests of all time. I think he's fantastic, and his relationship with Emma is just so sweet, and oh my god, it's so funny, so entertaining, so great and beautiful, and it made me cry, which I wasn't anticipating, so definitely it's God tier. I love it so much. Alright, so there you all have it. This is the final ranking of all of the classics that I read in 2020. As you can tell, I made good choices because I ended up reading a lot of books that I actually really enjoyed. So, you know, that's amazing. I'm very happy that I found a couple of classics that I really love and that I can now consider some of my favorite books, because that's always nice. And you know, it gives me hope that one day I will find even more classics that I love, and it really truly showed me that I can actually read classics and enjoy them, which is amazing. So yeah, definitely let me know in the comments down below which classics are your favorite, and do you agree with my ranking? Do you think I'm completely wrong? I assume some people will think so, and will definitely let me know. Also, if you have any classics recommendations for me, definitely let me know as well, because I'm definitely looking for more classics to love. I hope that you really enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!